Hi, welcome to Thinking is Contagious. This wealth tax thing is beginning to really get me upset. And I think you need to understand it, and I think you need to be upset, and I think you need to get to people and talk to them. I sent an email to Joe Manchin, which I don't expect to get any response from it because it does attack politicians, but it does lay the groundwork. And I'm going to read it later to you. But let's look at the wealth tax situation. 2018, France canceled it. And the reason they canceled it, they said brain drain, capital flight, and revenue loss. Bad idea. All but 3 European nations have canceled their wealth taxes for the same reasons. Bad idea. Destroyed the economy. Chased away entrepreneurship, invention, ingenuity. Away. Offshored it. Sent it somewhere else. Can't afford that in this country. Can't afford that in this country. A wealth tax is an unapportioned direct tax, thus it's unconstitutional. The Constitution allows the government to levy and collect taxes with 2 conditions. All taxes shall be uniform throughout the U.S. Doesn't meet that standard. Number 2, taxes shall be in proportion to the census. Doesn't meet that standard. Summary, federal taxes must be geographically uniform, but direct taxes must be apportioned. Period. It's unconstitutional. A wealth tax, bottom line, understand this, is a penalty on the ascension, on the wealthy. It's a penalty. It's an envious position to take. Instead of saying this is what I strive and I want to be like this and revere people who reach these levels as far as their business acumen is concerned, maybe not personal. I'm not talking about that. No, this is an attack. This is an attack on the wealthy. And if you don't think that Washington, D.C. is being manipulated, if clueless, shuffling Joe Biden, if you want to put in a magnifying glass on the way he is controlled, how foolish can you be? Not even Biden is this dumb, this foolish, that you have a meeting at the White House to discuss EVs and their future, and you don't invite Elon Musk. You don't invite Elon Musk. Is that absurd? Is that not transparent as to what this is? It's an attack because Elon Musk is hated by Elizabeth Warren, by Bernie Sanders, because Elon Musk is a self-made billionaire whose net worth is more. His net worth is more than ExxonMobil's net worth, okay? Or capitalization value. It's pure envy, and it's an attack. And this makes it very clear to me why this is an attack. They're saying this wealth tax, don't worry, it only affects 700 families. Well, if it only affects 700 families, that means it's only going to raise very little revenue. So why are you so hell-bent on getting this pushed through? It won't even make a dent in the trillions of dollars that you have in all these programs that you want to hand out money. And believe me, that money, the bulk of it ends up going back into the hands of the people that put these politicians in power, because that's all this is. This is a subverted attempt to funnel taxpayer dollars back into the hands of those who contributed to the campaigns and got these people elected in the first place. That's all this is. They cannot come out, the politicians cannot come out and say we're giving subsidies to corporate America, to the big guys that got us elected, to the pharmas of the world, to the Exxons of the world, to the oil companies of the world, to the banks, the financial institutions of the world who got us elected. We can't say we're cutting checks to these people. We're cutting checks to the people on the street, the poor people that we're all so concerned about, that we all want to help, the minorities, the poor people, the oppressed. Lies, there's no oppression in this country. That's who we want to send the money to. Of course they want to send the money to there, because like we've said many, many, many times, money, excess funds in the hands of people who don't know how to create wealth or maintain wealth or manage wealth ends up in the hands of those that do. And that's what this is. Make no mistake about it. A wealth tax is unconstitutional, period. And to allow this to go forward at this point, under the guise that it doesn't affect you and we're going to stick it to the man, eventually this will be trickling down. The word that the left hates, trickle down economy, trickle down, on a trickle down economy, this will be the opposite. This will be a trickle down reach into your pocket. Because as the excuses floated, oh, we need to lower the standard of who gets hit with a wealth tax because it's not producing enough money. As that excuse manifests itself, suddenly it won't be just billionaires, it'll be 100 millionaires. But after that, it'll be 10 millionaires. And after that, it'll be millionaires. And it'll be as far down into the pecking order as the politicians need in order to make sure that they don't touch the layer of the bulk of the vote, but they tax everyone else. And that money is going into the politicians' pockets indirectly or directly, via their salaries and their benefits directly, which we've discussed before. Should be public service, should be no salaries, should be term limits. This is a joke, and that's what's ruining this country. That is what's rotting this country from the inside, is the amount of money these politicians make. Their salaries are pittance, but still they shouldn't have any, okay? But the amount of money they make indirectly through their power and their ability to control and direct where taxpayer dollars go, the money that they're making is what's rotting this country. And that has got to end. And this wealth tax, all it does is say, hey, we're making this, we are going to take a budget and make it an unlimited budget, because these politicians know damn well that no matter how much money they get, it's never enough. It's never enough. There's always another thing that they want to buy. There's always another thing that they need. There's always that greed factor. We are all going to pay for it. This wealth tax must end. Okay? And if it doesn't, if this is not squashed, this is a direct attack, and this is a direct threat to your well-being. Everyone in America's well-being. This will take the entrepreneur and chase him away, him or her away. And I'm going to read you something that I sent to Mansion. Like I said, and excuse me for looking down, but it's really long. It appears that a wealth tax on billionaires is gaining traction in Washington. Much like a starving vampire in a horror movie, the politicians' desperate need for blood, in this case blood being money, their desperate need for blood knows no bounds, and any and all collateral damage is acceptable in pursuit of this end. You may think wealth tax on billionaires will have no impact on you. You may think it may even help or result in helping poor people. But if you look at the facts, a wealth tax will have a huge adverse impact on all Americans, and especially those people in the middle class. Much like labeling Afghanistan an endless war, that COVID is the pandemic of the unvaccinated, and now that the wealth tax is because the wealthy need to start paying their fair share. Well, the facts are that the top 10% of the people in this country that are taxpayers, the top 10% taxpayers, pay 70% of the tax in this country. 70% of the tax revenue of this country comes from the top 10%. They are paying their fair share, because when you further consider, not only are they paying 70% of the freight, but they use very little of the benefits that the government puts out there. They don't use, for the most part, public education. They don't use public transportation. Okay? They don't abide themselves of welfare or unemployment. They use very little, but yet they pay 70% of the freight. The lie, tell a big lie, repeat it over and over again, has got to end. It was not an endless war. We had 5,000 troops over there. and it was in a backup role, no direct combat, as evidenced by 18 months of no deaths. That was the endless war that they talk about. And now they're telling you that the rich must pay their fair share. Let me tell you something. Without the rich, this country would be broke. Because it's not just what the rich pay, it's what the employees, those employed, the jobs created by the rich, what they pay. And they are what pays all of this. The only people who are not satisfied with the amount of money that they're making are the politicians. They are the leeches on society. By pitting America versus the billionaires, politicians are paying up to 99% of the votes available to be harvested, and they like those odds when it comes to re-election. Right now, that's where they're aiming. But believe me, like we said, the aim will be lower and lower and lower and lower. The billionaires, much like the patricians of the Roman era, are far more concerned with their safety and freedoms, thus are far more inclined to avoid confrontation and will address the situation by going where they are welcome, avoiding the controversy. The perils to America start with money handed over to the government is spent in inefficient and unaccountable ways and less than arm's length in their approach. The ineffectiveness of government and government spending are very well documented and clearly show how easy it is to waste other people's money. To give Washington equity in America's entrepreneurial infrastructure is letting the fox into the henhouse. And that's what this is. Robin Hood is what this is. Take from the rich, but don't give it to the poor. Give it to the politician. That's what this is. Secondly, and of great importance, but in line with the aforementioned, being a politician has become a career. No longer is serving America a public service, as intended by the Founding Fathers. It has become a very lucrative endeavor, a business venture, a career. It has become self-service, access to the entrepreneur's equity benefits, which only benefit, to the equity benefits which only benefits of the politicians. Rest assured, the only thing that will make its way down to the plebeians are the crumbs that fall out of the patrician's feeding trough. Any benefit to the masses will be an unintended byproduct of the swamp dwellers' gorging. Unintended byproduct. And believe me, that will ultimately end up with the politicians anyway. No more evidence need be presented than the fact that young people come out of college with their various degrees and immediately enter politics. They get on their soapbox and pretend to have the knowledge and the experience to tell us how we should think, talk, worship, shop, and vote, all the while making sure the agenda from which they preach never steers away from what is best for them and the rest of their constituents, the rest of Washington, the rest of the politicians. Through all this constant theme is to safeguard the swamp. It must be kept as a viable structure. The swamp comes first, for it is where all the dwellers' resources are housed. A wealth tax will disincentivize America's best and brightest from taking risk, creating wealth, and most importantly, creating employment for America. America's best and brightest will continue to create wealth, jobs, and prosperity. Only they will not do so in America. France, 2018. If you think the offshoring America's supply chain had tragic impacts under the guise of globalization, by the way, globalization, when you look up that term in a political dictionary, you'll see a picture of Obama and Biden because they were the biggest proponents of it. They were the ones that pushed the supply chain the most offshore in this country. The Bushes did as well, Clinton did as well, but nobody put it on steroids like Obama did. Okay, and now it's ironic that Biden is running on a platform of bringing all this back, the supply chain to America, and pointing fingers. Well, guess what? Four pointing back at you, Joe, because you are the grandfather, you are the granddaddy of the globalization. You and Obama. Okay. The hell-bent pursuit to bring America back to the pack, and that's what this is, and it's, believe me, it's applauded by our enemies. But this hell-bent pursuit to bring America back to the pack, as far as innovation and entrepreneurship, has its biggest fan base in China. China, who has made no secret their goal is to be the world's greatest economy in the next 20 years. The Chinese know they can't compete, thus surpass America as the world's greatest economy without help. They fully understand that America's ingenuity, innovation, entrepreneurship, and most importantly, the capitalist system is not something that they can defeat, especially under a communist regime. They further know Americans' innate ingenuity is second to none in the world. It's not anything close in the Chinese DNA that can approach America's ingenuity. This being said, the only way for China to meet the goal of the greatest economy, of to catch the leader, is only to weaken America. And how do you weaken America? With the political BS that is happening in this country, the divide and conquer mindset that is in this country today, which is hell-bent on bringing America's standard of the brightest and the best, leading to those who fit a checklist leading. Okay? The Chinese know that claiming America is racist, homophobic, cruel, violent, and non-inclusive, all obvious lies, as attested to by the millions of immigrants that enter this country annually, legally and illegally, enter this country because why? Because they are seeking opportunity, freedom, a better life. And more importantly, they are obtaining these things. The fact immigrants prosper in such great numbers clearly refutes the premise and must be kept away from the narrative or platform placed before Americans. So the politicians know they can talk about immigration and they can talk about all the ills of how the Republicans don't want immigration and are banning immigration. But by the same token, they don't continue the narrative down the road saying how these immigrants all prosper and how they've started businesses and their entrepreneurship, many, and their success, because then it makes the population that is here, that is American population, that is claiming all these lacks of opportunity and inability to get ahead and racism and inequality a moot point. Because if the refugees, the immigrants, if the immigrants are able to achieve, how come the Native American population that has been supposedly kept oppressed can't? Because the people that are coming into this country, the immigrants that are coming into this country, they're not white-haired, blue-eyed, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. They're not Caucasians, most of them. This country sees no color. This country sees no gender. This country doesn't see those things. This country sees culture, good and bad. Work ethic, no work ethic. Thug or hero. That's what this country sees. It doesn't care. This country bets on the winners. This country loves the winners. This country wants to be part of the winners. Shall we then believe that is only America Americans who suffer at the hands of racism and tolerant lack of opportunities? Are these evils nationalistic in nature, perpetrated only on Americans? This is what we've been discussing. That narrative can't really be discussed because it defeats the purpose of the left. Far too many people who view America in negative light being discussed are those who either make their living, and this is the key, claiming to be the salvation for the victims of these ills, or those who accept the false narrative of a racist America as a crutch for their not being able to reach the American dream. The American dream is not an abstract, unattainable objective. As a matter of fact, it is far more attainable today than ever before. And this is precisely why those who need to remain in power, those who want to control, those who want to seize your vote, those who want full access to that feeding trough are now making their greatest effort to divide America, because this is where they feel threatened, because they're seeing that the fact that equality, freedom, and opportunity is so abundant in America today that the biggest threat to those who seek to control America is exactly that: the opportunity, the inclusiveness, the lack of prejudice that exists in this country. The independence and self-sufficiency of the masses leads to rendering obsolete those who exist to exploit said dependence for their living. So the more self-sufficient people, the more people achieve the American dream, the less need there is for the parasite that sits there and tells you, I'm going to take care of you, when all they're doing is taking care of themselves. We need to make it known to our elected officials we do not want America to be brought back to the pack. We want America to remain the source of innovation, technology, medical advances, and wealth creation. We do not want to outsource this to other countries, and a wealth tax will do precisely that. Understand that. If the wealth tax will destroy American jobs, the wealth tax will offshore American ingenuity. The wealth tax is nothing but the manifestation of hatred, envy, and jealousy of those that have led America to the promised land that it is today. I hope that this program, this airing, gets shared. And I ask you to subscribe. And I know this has been a long one, but subscribe. I don't understand what's so difficult. Hit the subscribe button. We need to get this out, and we need to get this out now. Thank you.